I'm in big trouble. Genuine big trouble. I'm being called out by the community. The group chats are going off. It's like I've been exposed. I feel like I'm in big trouble. I feel like I'm in big trouble, but I don't really know what I've done wrong. Hit the like and the share button. Make sure you're subscribing. And I want to get your opinions on this. We have just seen Chelsea drop down to 7th in the league. After what was nothing short of a sensational start to the campaign. Yes, they lost to Manchester City in that opening game. But between that match and the 15th, 16th of December, we saw this talented Chelsea squad there is a sprinkling of stardust in there from your Caicedos, your Palmers when they're on forms. Cucurella, I think, is an excellent left back as an example. They won many games. They went on a great winning streak. And as you can see on the screen right now, up until that date, they put themselves second in the Premier League, 2 points off of the champions-elect Liverpool. They were 4 points ahead of Arsenal. They were 6 ahead of Nottingham Forest, 7 ahead of City, 9 ahead of Aston Villa, and a whopping 11 points ahead of Newcastle United Football Club. And they were sailing. They were looking brilliant. The football was great. Myself, I predicted them to come between 4th and 5th this season. I think it was 4th. By the time we got to December, I felt they were a shoo-in. And nothing I said about those performances, the quality of that squad, the technical element, do I look back on and regret saying, or do I think I was wrong about it? But between now and then, the form has changed dramatically. Between that date and now, they sit around 14th in the league on the form table, only accumulating around about 20 points from that stage, barely beating anybody above them in the current form table, I think barring Wolves. Their performances have been bad. Players have completely lost their way. Palmer maybe being the most standout example. There are not goals, there are not assists coming from him. A lot of the remaining attacking line have let them down. The midfield has still been pretty strong, but outside of that, poor. And defensively, mistake. Issues at the back with the goalkeeper. And Chelsea now, when you look at the league table, they look like they're in a very precarious position, and they look to me like they are in trouble. And I stated that today on a show. And the amount of, it was in part of my title for the Manchester City match reaction. And that is why I'm getting into trouble. The amount of Chelsea fans in the group chat. So these are people that come on the show regularly, annoyed about it, frustrated about it, kicking off. They're even asking why I'm not talking about Nottingham Forest and why I'm focusing on Chelsea. Which I don't really understand the challenge. We're a channel, the first of its kind, that was invented to primarily talk about the top 6 teams, the traditional top 6 teams in England, the big 6 teams that had the most amount of money, that have been in the title races and Champions League around that time. Now, of course, we cover on shows and in moments the teams that are challenging that top 6, that top 6 group. In recent years, West Ham have done it, Leicester, of course, Newcastle United. And in the last season or two, you've had Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest join in with that mix. And we've covered a number of their games this season in Europe and Carabao Cups and things like this. So we do cover them. But primarily, aside from international tournaments and the Champions League, we focus primarily on the top 6, and we always have done, and will always continue to do that for as far as I can see right now. That might change in the future, but right now that's what we're doing. And I'm just confused about why is there such a deflection? Why have I been attacked tonight? Why is such a big deal being made? There's comments on the channel now from Chelsea fans saying things like, and I quote, Chelsea always in trouble, according to this guy. Well, I'm talking specifically about your ability to qualify for the Champions League and the financial requirement of you being in the Champions League. But primarily what I'm speaking of is your ability this season to finish in a UCL position. And Chelsea, with a club of your stature, your history, your winning record, you need to be in the Champions League. The same as Man United and Spurs are failing this season in the league, which we've called out many, many a time. Especially Man United should always be aspiring to be in the Champions League and being able to win it. And we're well full enough. And the rest of the comment says, we are shit right now, which is part of what we're talking about. I just didn't use a derogatory term like that or pejorative like that. But he finishes it by saying, but his team, which is 14th or so, is never in trouble. And this is the crazy part about this. And it isn't all Chelsea fans. And we have a lot of Chelsea fans who watch and support the Terrace, come onto the Terrace, who like the unbiased nature. I'm not being biased and saying Chelsea are crap, Chelsea are finished, Chelsea are never going to succeed again, and oh, look how good my team are, and I'm using Man United as a hammer to beat them with. That would warrant this type of response. But I have condemned Man United far more this season and praised Man United far less this season because we haven't won as many games or looked as good compared to what I've done with Chelsea. However, I hold Chelsea in very high regard. I don't talk about having no history before Roman. I don't talk about them being a money club or any of that nonsense. They built a solid, genuine, bona fide history that I don't think can just be written off because people feel that, oh, it was bought, or people feel that it wasn't warranted or deserved in a traditional sense. I don't do that to Chelsea. When Chelsea look good, I praise them. When Chelsea were under Tuchel and they were glowing up the Champions League and winning it, I praise them. When Chelsea have had brilliant transfer windows, I've praised it. If I think something's good and say, oh, that looks great, and it turns out to be bad, I'll call out my own poor judgment and say, I got that wrong. But at the same time, I hold you in that high regard. That means when the going gets tough and you're going through a bad period, I'm also going to call it out. But it isn't because I'm being biased. It's not because I'm trying to deflect from Manchester United. But when City beat Everton today, it doesn't impact in the context of this season Man United. When Aston Villa just beat Newcastle, that doesn't impact in the context of this season in a match reaction Manchester United. The team that my channel covers, who I feel that I've covered in a very unbiased way in the 5, 6, 7 years that we've existed, has been impacted by it. Now, of course, then I'm met and I'm attacked with this notion of, well, what if we make it? If you turn your performances around and if you win the majority of your remaining 6 games and you get a Champions League spot, you'd have deserved it. I'll praise those performances. I'll congratulate you for getting into the Champions League. Well, of course, we'll dissect the good bits. We'll dissect the bad parts of the season and speak about how do you improve, because Chelsea absolutely need to improve next season. A club of your standing, a club of your stature, a club with your legacy in the game cannot be consistently even in top 4 races. You all aspire to get back to title races, the same as every team in England in actuality. But Chelsea have the money, the income, the prestige to be able to do that, all things being equal. So I'm just going to say to everyone that's frustrated that I'm speaking about Chelsea's misgivings, it's because I have high, as a football fan, for a team that's invested so much money, a team that's bought a lot of talent, a club that started a rebuild 3 years ago, there are an expectation against that. I'm not saying it's impossible for you to make the top 4. I'm not saying it's a cast iron fact that you won't make it. What I am stating is if your performances from December until now don't improve dramatically, if your conversion rate doesn't grow by 10, 15, 20%, if the mistakes at the back are not pushed to not 0, because there's always going to be mistakes, but are not reduced in half, then I think it's going to be very, very difficult. If you look at the form of Villa, if you look at the form of Man City, the form of Newcastle, it is better. And not just the last 5, 6 games. If you look beyond that, it's superior in terms of points. But if you look at the teams they've been beating versus the sides that Chelsea have been beating in that period, you have to look at that distinction as well. If Chelsea can find the form we saw from September to December, there's a genuine chance they still make the Champions League, and they would have thoroughly deserved it. But the one thing I'm not going to do on the Football Terrace, and you can either like it or you can lump it, is I'm not going to stop talking about the clubs that the channel was invented to talk about. I am not going to have this notion of, yeah, but where's your team? That is not an argument. That is not a debate. Just don't turn up. Just don't be involved if you don't want your club to be discussed on the Football Terrace. We're not going to stop. We're not going to be bullied by you. You just don't need to be here. You can go to an echo chamber. You can go and sit somewhere that pushes a narrative that you like. We are all just going to give our opinions. Some people will have a narrative you don't like. Some people will come on our shows, they'll have an agenda against Chelsea. The same as some of our Chelsea fans have agendas against other clubs. It's part of the football fandom. But what we're not going to do is say, let's not criticize Chelsea because Spurs and Man United have had worse seasons. Let's not say in the context of the top 4 Champions League race or top 5 Champions League race this year that the results so far this weekend do not leave Chelsea with their current form in a precarious position, especially as those same Chelsea fans that when I speak to them go, well, we all know we've only got like a couple of % chance of making it. Then why is me saying you're in trouble a problem? I don't understand it. We've got an absolutely great bunch of Chelsea fans who contribute on these shows, the likes of Jem and David, Don, and I'm forgetting Ches, Matt, loads of people whose names I'm going to forget, right? And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. And I love the bones of them. But come on now, let's not do this bullshit, right? So, and if you don't like the Terrace anymore, you don't need to be here. You're not paying a subscription. Some of you are members, but none of my members have reached out and got a problem, by the way. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. But I don't think any horrible agendas are being pushed. We're talking about the football and the current game state that's happening. And it's as long and as straightforward as that. On Chelsea, look, bad day for them today, but they've got the chance to rectify it tomorrow. Go and put a performance in. Go and beat Fulham. Lay a marker down. And let's make this, I'm talking from there. I want Chelsea to win tomorrow. I want an exciting end to the season. The title race has been pants. The relegation race has been pants. Let's have a really good end to this season. A great race for Champions League next year. And fuck off to all those idiots that don't think you should speak about this. Look what Villa have done this year in the Champions League. Look how PSG started as a team that no one fancied for this season's Champions League. Some are now saying they're potential favourites for it. You never know how good you're going to be next year. It might be 3 or 4 signings come in and you go up another level. Why would you not want to be in the Champions League? Especially if you're a Chelsea, if you're a Man City, Aston Villa, Newcastle. Of course you want to be in it. Listen, hit the like and the share button for me. Make sure you're subscribing. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And I'll see you soon. Peace.